that these initial conversations are
Okay.
some most
Now,
telling.
okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. First question is what is bridge, and we are trying to simplify the meaning of bridge, no? And the way that from SHR Labs we can identify or we can simplify the what is bridge is this statement, no? Bridge is a platform that allows the user to interconnect between systems and data and automate process. This is from our point of view what is bridge. And in this statement, we think that probably there are two words that are very important to correctly understand what is bridge. And those are the words interconnect and automate. Let me explain what we want mean with interconnect. Now in the ecosystems of the hotels, they have different applications, but also in the cloud, we have a lot of data sources. We have different websites, we have different sites where you have a lot of data. All those applications and data sources, they have one piece of a program, that is usually named API, that allows to other systems to interconnect with those APIs and those data sources. The interconnect means that from bridge, we will create an interface, or we will create a connection between our system that is bridge to the APIs in two directions. One is connect with this API to get data from the application or from the data source, in the case that is a data source, or to send data to the application. No? Then this is the meaning what we are talking about to interconnect, is to create something, one connection that allows us to interact with the system, getting data or sending data to this application. No? This is one of the main functionalities of bridge, is this interconnection between the systems. And the second one is automate. And in our content, process can be automated with the definition of workflows. No, you create a workflow, then you can automate this workflow. And the basic way that you can define a workflow or the basic structure of the workflow is what we are seeing in the screen. No, a rule is if condition, then an action. With this statement, you can create workflows or you can automate tasks. No, depending on some condition, you can execute some actions. And here, as a spoiler, conditions, as we comment before, condition is the integration where we get the data from the app, and the action is the integration that we send data to the app. And this is the two main content in bridge is, okay, we can interconnect systems. We have integration with different applications or data sources to collect data or to send data. And also we can create rules or we can create workflows in order to automate tasks. And these are the two main words in the statement that we said before. But also, I think that it's important to introduce a focus in one word in this statement, and the word is platform. Why, from SHR Labs, we comment that bridge is a platform? Okay, we go to Wikipedia, we can see this definition about platform. A computing platform or digital platform is the environment in which a piece of software is executed. From SHR Labs, we think that what we are creating is something that is exactly the same, but instead of a piece of software, what we are creating is an environment in which a workflow is executed. For this reason, we say that bridge is a platform, is an environment. We have all the components that we need in bridge that allows to the user or allows to the hotel to execute a workflow. This is bridge, no? This is the platform. Okay. Then I don't know if you have any doubt, but this is the idea about bridge, no? Finally, is a platform that allows to the user to interconnect systems or data and automate the process, no? And how bridge or what have been the project evolution of bridge? When we started thinking about to create a system to connect and to automate tasks, we started to have questions or tasks to do, and then we started to think functionalities that we need to create. with this slide, what I will try to do is to explain why we develop some functionality and what is the meaning of this functionality. No? For example, at the beginning, when we started to create the bridge, we thought that we need to create a functionality where the user can create their own workflow. That we need something, a system that the user can say, if blah, 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 if this condition is executed, then execute is success, then execute this action. No? We need to develop this component. And then for the reason we create one functionality in Bridge that we name it Workflow Studio. The Workflow Studio is some functionality in Bridge that allows the user to create their own workflow. The second one is, okay, now that the user can create the workflow, we need that the user can scatter the workflow. For example, one workflow can be executed the weekends, or one workflow not need to be executed at the beginning of the day, etc. No? And then we need to create a new functionality in Bridge that allows to the user to schedule the workflow. Okay, I create my workflow, and then I can say when I want to execute this workflow. Then also we allow to the user to say, okay, I define one workflow, and I want that the workflow could be executed itself. So it's automatic. I don't know to check the workflow. And then we created one functionality that is the autopilot. The autopilot means you create the workflow, you active that the workflow is autopilot, and the system automatically, when the condition is success, execute the action that is defined into the workflow. Also, we thought that perhaps not all the users want to create workflows unsupervised. Perhaps they want to supervise the workflow, the conditions, and then depending on the conditions, I want to execute something or not. And then for the reason we create action panel. The action panel is the summary of the information that we retrieve from the conditions that the user defined in the workflow. We have a possibility where the user can define the different as a report, and in this report, the user can say, okay, in this case, I want to execute. In this case, no. In this case, I want to execute, etc. This is the action panel, okay? It's the possibility that the user can analyze the information that we created. Also, we need to notify to the user that the workflow has been executed, and to show to the user the number of actions that the system took depending of the workflow. And then we create also the functionality notifications that allows to say, hey, this workflow, I want to notify to this user. And in this point, we started to work with all those project needs, but here we have a reflection point. And we say the following: as we comment at the beginning in the definition of Bridge, the interconnection is a key into the Bridge project, and we thought that the success of the project will depend on the amount of interconnection that we have. Because imagine that we have only 5 or 6 integration with different systems. The user or the capacities that the user or the workflow that the user could create with those APIs are very limited, no? And then we need to create something open, something that the user, the number of integration could be all that the user needs, no? And then what we thought is this need, that is, okay, Bridge need to interconnect with other systems very fast. So we need to create something where Bridge can connect with other systems very fast, because if we have as more integrations we have, Bridge will be better. And then we need to create something, no, that allows us to create integration very, very fast. And then in this case, we create a functionality that we name it Mapper. But let me go deeper into this functionality, because I think that is very interesting to understand in detail what means Mapper. And here I will try to define the normal process into the actual integration process. When we want to create an integration, for example, I don't know, it could be to retrieve currency information, could be to retrieve rate code data, I don't know. Any integration, we have the different steps. First, we need to prioritize the integration. Second one, we need to analyze the API because the API has a documentation and we need to define the API, how it works, etc. We need to create a BRD with the definition of the need of the project. We need to create a SOA. We need to develop code to connect with the API. Also, once we have the code connecting with the API, we need to update our program in order to include the information that we can retrieve from the API. And then we need to schedule the release. And finally, we need to deploy the integration. This is a normal integration process. If Bridge, what we thought is Bridge is important to have all the integration that we can, this process will not be the same, no? And this is the reason Mapper. With Mapper, the functionality that we create with Mapper, the steps that we need to do in order to include a new integration is to analyze the API and fill up a Mapper's form. That is a screen where the user can define how we need to connect with the API, and automatically with this information, once you fill up the form, all the steps that are in a normal integration process are done in this screen. This is the importance of the Mapper, because with this functionality, now we are ready to start to add all the data sources or all the integrations, APIs that we need. And then the user can create the workflow that he wants. And this is very, very, very important. And then once we create the Mapper, the second reflection point was, okay, now we have a tool that the user has the Workflow Studio that could create workflows. Also, we have a Mapper where we can connect with the API that we want, etc. But what happened, we feel when we started to show the system to external people or internal people, we feel that perhaps we could find users or some user can feel that the system is complex, or perhaps they are not ready to use the Workflow Studio, or perhaps they are not ready to use the Mapper. And then here we say, okay, in this case, in order that the users can use Bridge without the need to create a workflow and to have those advanced knowledge of Workflow Studio, what we need to do is to create templates, something that we predefine workflows, and the user only need to change some parameters on the workflow template. And with this information, for the user, it's very easier to create the workflow, and then the user could start to use Bridge without think that is a complex system. And for this reason, we created the workflow library. The workflow library is, okay, here you have a repository of workflows that we think that are the more relevant or the more important, and the user only need to add this workflow and change some information in this workflow. But the user interface is easier than, for example, a Workflow Studio, where you need more advanced knowledge to say, okay, I need to map this field with this field, etc. No? And then this is the workflow library. This is those are the steps that we followed when we created the workflow. I want to explain in this way because also here on the right, we are saying all the functionality that we have in Bridge. No, we created a Workflow Studio. We created the functionality to schedule workflows. We create the functionality to the possibility that the user can define workflows as autopilot. We define the possibility of action panel where the user can see the summary of the information that was retrieved in the conditions of the workflow. We can create notifications. Also, we create a mapper that is a great tool that allows us to integrate a API very, very easier into the system. And also, we have the workflow library where the user can find workflows that we think that could be interesting. Okay, those are the components, and now I will move to Angelo that can show us the different UI of all of those components before to continue with the presentation. Hey, Angelo, I will stop to share.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just want to kind of demonstrate a very just a basic user flow through Bridge. The idea here is to make the creation of a workflow very easy, kind of very intuitive. So Here's my login to Bridge. Maybe I'm a hotel user. I log in for the first time. I immediately find myself in the workflow library. So here are all the workflow templates that I could use to create my own workflows. And the idea here was to provide an immediate list of things that are useful. These are predefined, pre-created workflows that SHR people would create for hotels. Each one has a clear name. The name should kind of clearly understand, kind of convey what the use of that workflow is, the number of times they're used, so you can kind of see which ones are more popular than other ones, which applications each workflow entails or associates one to the other. And then finally, this idea of tags, this idea of just categorizing workflows based on top mind, I think just types or categories that make sense to the hotel. So here I am looking at predefined workflows. I see one that looks interesting, how to show rates in the IBE based on the weather forecast. And I click on this, and it opens up just to give me kind of a summary of what this workflow is. I get a description that's kind of written by SHR staff to make it easy to understand what this workflow does. And then I have a visual flow of the conditions and actions which comprise this workflow. So in this case, the idea here is that over the next 2 weeks, on dates where there is good weather, this workflow shows a promotional code that's kind of weather-based within the IBE. How does it do this? Well, let me try to understand this at a very basic level. Oh, I see. The conditions are that there's days on which the temperature is greater than or equal to 83 degrees in Houston. Oh, these are things I can change as well. So I can actually change this to be less than or equal to. I can also change the threshold itself, the temperature itself. And I see there's another condition where the humidity also is a factor in good weather. So I can kind of see how this workflow defines these two conditions. And then finally, the action itself, the removal of restrictions. Oh, I see. So if I have a rate that is allocated to the IBE, this workflow will automatically remove restrictions on that rate so that it'll become shown in the IBE. So here's that workflow. I'm going to add it to my workflows. Now I go to the My Workflow section, and now I'm editing this same workflow. Now I'm customizing it for my own self. I can change the name of it. I can add my own tags. I can change the description. I see that same workflow sequence that I saw before. Now I can add my own data. I can even change the location. I can also see if I want a little deeper information, what other pre-selected input comprises this condition. So these are input that the SHR people would put in to create this workflow. And then this remove restrictions. Oh, I see. So that's a rate code, and the restriction the action is to remove restrictions. So there's the flow of conditions and actions. I see that I can also define where the notification would go to once this action is completed. And I can also schedule this workflow. So the idea of a date range, a day of week pattern, and a frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, what have you. You turn it on and off, and that's it. And that's the creation of my first workflow using a workflow template. Yeah, we're trying to make it very easy to do so. So over time, hopefully the hotel will have a whole bunch of workflows. Maybe they're collaborating with other people to create workflows, and then there'll be a need to filter and find workflows quickly to understand, the ones that they want to use or turn on or off or see what the status is. So that's kind of like a flow through just the workflow library and my workflows. Just wanted to include other screens. So these are what you're seeing here. This is the visual design of screens that are being produced currently. There are other screens that led to this, and namely, this is an actual screen, a screenshot of an actual screening application. I think Jim will be going through the actual application with us in a live demo. But here's the list of workflows. This is the studio now. This is the workflow studio. The basic hotel users would not see this. Mostly SHR people would see this. And then here's the screen to edit a workflow. So we've made a lot of assumptions and tried to make this easy for ourselves to do. But we discovered that this is kind of a complex screen, the studio screen, and should only be given to people who kind of know what's going on here. And then here's the mapper list itself. This is the current screenshot. So as of today, we have about 60 mappers, I believe. 60 different mappers to different APIs. Again, these are quite easy to create if you know what you're looking at on the mapping screen. So, and here's the mapper itself. So specific application, authentication, and then the different parameters, the input parameters you want to use, and output as well. Again, this is the Workflow Studio, but this screen would be used by SHR people who have a better understanding of the API and can kind of create the mappers and workflow templates that hotels want. All right. Well, that's it for the UI.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, I will share my screen again. Okay, then as we see in Bridge, we have different functionalities. So we have the Workflow Studio, where the user can create their own workflow. So the user has the freedom to create the workflow that he wants. Or we have the Workflow Library that is, okay, you create the workflow based in our templates. Here is one idea, one vision that one is an approach that that we think that perhaps we are thinking to go to the market, no? And then we think that we have different customer profiles. Perhaps we can think in customers that have a high profile to manage Workflow Studio, Mapper, etc., and customers that they have not the knowledge to use Workflow Studio, and then we need to move to Workflow Library, no? And then for the reason we think that we have three different categories. For example, we have a customer profile basic, that is a normal customer that the knowledge is very basic, and then the idea here is, okay, we can create Bridge with those components or those functionalities. For example, the Workflow Library, the Action Panel, Dashboard, Notification, Autopilot, as covered. Also, we can say, hey, perhaps we have customers that we can name premium that say, hey, perhaps those customers want the control and have the knowledge that they can create their own workflow. They can manage the screen that Angelo showed us, no? That is a bit complex, more complex. It's not very, very complex, but a bit complex. And then perhaps we can say, hey, in this case, we can activate the Workflow Studio to those users. And finally, also, perhaps we can find customers that they want also create their own APIs, use the Mapper. The Mapper is a high level functionality, but perhaps they have knowledge or they have people in the department or in the hotel that can manage the Mapper, and then with the Mapper they can create the API themselves. Jim probably could show us how easy or difficult it is to create the Mapper. For us, it's very easier, but the main or the more important thing about the Mapper is that in 10 minutes we are ready to start to use an API. This is the more important thing, and then perhaps we can use that. This is only a illustration about how we can use all the functionalities that we showed before to the market, no? And what we say is perhaps not all the users that we want to go, they need to have all the functionality. Perhaps depending on the profile, we could activate some or other. This is one thing that I want to share with you because I received this job offer 1 hour before to this meeting, and I thought that is very interesting to share, because sometimes we think, okay, but this Bridge could be interesting or not into the market. This offer is from Radisson Hotel Group, and if I see all the description, all the rate, all the roles and responsibilities all that they are looking for, all of those functionality, all of those work, I think that Bridge could do it. And for the reason I decide to include here, because really, I think that in the market, there are a demand about one product that can automate those type of tasks. No? And this is it was interesting for me to find this offer, and for the reason I decided to include it. Here, the question is, okay, what we try to explain before is to say, okay, what is Bridge? What are the components of how the different sections that we will have in Bridge? We see more or less in detail in a UI, in the user interface, how Bridge works. And now I think that it's important to answer why we think that the hotels need Bridge. No? And here we introduce some points that there are the reasons that we think that make need that probably the hotel needs Bridge, but also perhaps we could add more. No, first one is Bridge helps to automate hotel process. Now that we are hearing that the hotels are reducing staff, and they have not all the staff that they had, to have one application that could automate tasks and could connect with other APIs in an easier way is something that probably the hotels need in the actual situation. No? Second one is Bridge is a great tool that allows to remove silos into the hotels. Now, sometimes the hotels has different departments, and the departments use just the information that they have. No, also Bridge, for example, could be a tool that you can create conditions, and the actions could be to create a report and send this report to other departments or something like this, where the internal communication between the different departments into the hotel could be removing or could be easier to communicate with them. This other is one that I think that is interesting. And I am thinking when I think in this point, I think, for example, in Meliá, when I worked in Meliá. And for example, in Meliá, they have a sales department where sales is direct channel, revenue management, distribution, etc. And they have a lot of dependence on the IT department. For example, if they need to create something or they need to create a functionality or something like this, they need to ask to the IT department, wait until the IT department has the resource and the time, and then to do something. With Bridge, we can reduce this dependence of the revenue and the distribution departments with the IT department. Why? Because, for example, in now, I don't know, imagine that they want to say, okay, if I have something in the booking engine, I want to do something in my CRS or something like that. I don't know, the different departments, then they need to request this development to the IT department. With Bridge, they have their own control, no? And I think that also is important. Also, I think that the hotels need Bridge because, for example, with the podcast that Jason is created, the different PMSs that are on this podcast all are moving on the same page. So now the systems, or one of the value proposition in the new systems is the APIs. If your system is easier to connect, then your system will be better, no? And then for the reason to have a platform that can connect with different systems and automate tasks also could be very interesting for the hotels. And the last one, and my favorite reason, is I think that Bridge reduce the opportunity cost. What is the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is the loss of the benefit that could have been enjoyed if the best alternative choice was chosen, or in this case, or the action was taken. So, for example, something happened, and I didn't take an action in this moment that something happened, I have an opportunity cost. And with Bridge, you can create a workflow that automatically can be analyzing, or you have conditions where if these conditions are activated and the action will be executed, then your opportunity cost will be reduced. No? And I think that this is the key point, in my opinion, about Bridge. For example, I always talk about dynamic management. In my opinion, dynamic management is acting as the environment change. So if something is happening in the environment, automatically I take an action. Then, if I can do that, then I help to minimize the opportunity cost. As better I am in a dynamic management, the opportunity cost will be lower. And I think that here is the reason why bridge could be very interesting to the hoteliers. For example, when I did the master of revenue management in Cornell say, hey, you know, our studies comment that automatically when one hotel apply revenue management in the hotel, the RevPAR increased 7%. No, this is what Cornell comment, and the main reason why I think that you increase the 7% is because you are acting with the change in the environment. So revenue management allows you to acting very fast when the environment change. And for this reason, I think that you are reducing your opportunity cost. And reducing your opportunity cost, your RevPAR is higher. No? This is my opinion, but I think that this point is very important, and bridge could help to the hotels to reduce this opportunity cost. Those are the main points that we think about to why bridge could be interesting for the hoteliers. Here, what we could comment is, okay, we saw how bridge works, we saw what are the benefits for the hoteliers to use bridge, but okay, let me explain. I need to understand better what can do bridge, no? And here, what we are doing is to create examples of that we are working in SHR Labs, and we know that we can do it, about how different workflows that we could create in bridge are examples. Of course, the capacity is higher. It's close the imagination, your imagination, no? For example, one workflow could be auto parity. Now the hoteliers, for example, could be a problem that perhaps the direct channel, the booking engine, they are selling more expensive than other channels. And then they have not the possibility. So how they are acting now is, okay, I have a shopper, or I have a tool that analyze the price of my booking engine with the price of my competitors, and depending on that, I go to the booking engine or to the CRS and activate or deactivate rate codes. No? This is one of the things that usually the hotels can do. Okay, we can simplify the task, because sometimes the hotels don't do this task, but we can simplify with this workflow. So for example, we can create this workflow that say, okay, if the ratio is the difference between the price of Expedia and my channel is less than 10%, and the occupancy is less than 60%, then I want to open the rate code, this code, no? What we are doing with this workflow is the system is checking all time the price that we have with the price that we are scrapping from Expedia, the Expedia.com. If the price that we have in our channel in the bar rate is 10% lower than the Expedia, and we have the forecast of the occupancy from Wave or from Windsurfer is less than 60%, the system will activate the rate code that has a 10% discount. And in this moment, when one person is doing a search into the booking engine, automatically the price will be cheaper than Expedia, without one person in the hotel need to activate, deactivate, review the information, etc. This is one workflow that, for example, the hotel could do into bridge, no? And can simplify the distribution. Other workflow, for example, we name it dynamic distribution. I always think that once you have the price, for example, in Wave, you have a revenue management system, but once you recommend a price, the hotel has a lot of rate codes, have a lot of prices, etc. And not only you need to decide what is the price recommendation, you need to decide the price recommendation, and also you need to review all the distribution that you have in the system, all the rate code that you have in the system, and open, close those rate codes that that could be interesting to sell in this moment. Okay, with this workflow that you are seeing here and you can develop in Bridge, the system will do automatically this job or this work for the hotelier. And the workflow is very easy. Is if the rate amount in the bar rate is greater than $300 or $200, why, yeah, sorry, here is important, why the price we are using as a price of reference and not the forecast, the occupancy, etc. Because when you define a price, we are assuming that the price, inside the price, you have a pickup analysis, a forecasting, etc. And then if you only need to define what are the levels of the price, you are understanding that your price has all the analysis that we did before. For the reason, if we only need to check the price in order to identify that is good or bad, no? But in this case, if the rate amount, if the rate amount is greater than $300 and the rate derivation, and I have what we are commenting here in the second is if I have in Windsurfer rate code where the derivation is greater than 10%, then close all those rate codes. No? For example, this is one workflow that we can create. So because perhaps it's not great if you are selling very high, because 300 is a very high price. It doesn't make sense that perhaps you have a rate code in your system that is activated with 10% discount. You are losing money. And with this workflow, automatically the system is reviewing and closing those rate codes. No? This is other workflow that you can create, and it's dynamic distribution. You are optimizing the rate code that you have in the CRS. Other workflows that we identify that we thought and we could do in Bridge is identify lost business. What means identify lost business? Means that sometimes the hotels are creating restrictions in the rate codes. In the other hand, you have the information from the booking engine. You have the number of search that the guest is doing in the booking engine. If you are having a lot of denials, denials means you are not giving answer to the guest when he's doing the guest is doing the search because you have not capacity or you have a restriction. If you have very high percentage of denials and your occupancy for this day is very low, probably you have a restriction that is not accurate in the market situation. So you are losing business, no? Because if you remove the restriction and you have a very low occupancy or very low forecast, you can start to increase your business, no? And then we could create this workflow that is okay. If the next 30 days denials is more than the 50%, so if I have 50% denials from the total of search that I have in the booking engine for those for a specific stay date, and the bar rate has a restriction, and the forecast for this date is less than 60%. In this case, what we are creating here, the action is, okay, send me an action panel where I can see the stay date, I can see all the information, and in this action panel, I can say remove restriction or not remove restriction. In this case, what we are creating is this workflow with a supervised, when it's a supervised workflow with an action panel. No? And then it's very interesting because if not, the hotel is losing money in this moment. Also, we can use Bridge as notifications or sending information from one department to other department. For example, this is very easier. That if high temperature is greater than 20, then send me an SMS. This is something that also we can do in Bridge. We can change the condition. In this case, it's high temperature. Perhaps it's not the best condition, but we can change with all the information that we want or all. With the mappers that we create before. No? Other interesting workflow, for example, is OTA customer notification. For example, now Booking.com has an API where you can retrieve the message that the guest is sending to Booking.com, and then you need to access to Booking.com and answer the message. What we are proposing is to automate this process with Bridge. So we only need to create this workflow that is, okay, if new Booking.com gets a message, then send me an action panel where I can see the message and I can introduce my answer and click send, and then I can send the answer automatically to Booking.com. This is also a workflow that we could create into Bridge. And without development, only we need to create this workflow. Well, and the other one is project management. For example, other workflow that we could do is okay, if we have an API that we can retrieve the reviews from Booking.com, and we can say, okay, if the clean score, so Booking.com has different score from different attributes in the hotel. One is clean, other attention, other room price, etc. In this case, if the clean score is less than 7, so I have a review in Booking.com where the clean score is less than 7. What I want to do is create a ticket to the housekeeping, okay? And then we can create a ticket to an email or something where we can say, hey, look, the review that you have about cleaning into Booking.com, no? And then automatically the system is doing that because all time the workflows are running, no? About project management, here I want to make a stop because here is something that we think that could be interesting to analyze. Is because, for example, what we are commenting create ticket, we are finding a solution that is Redmine. Redmine is a solution similar than Jira, that you can create tickets or you can create issues, etc. And then you can manage the tickets or the issues. The benefit of Redmine is an open source technology, and also you can create a white label, or you can introduce the system in your own system. For example, here is Redmine. No, you have the different tickets, and you have here the ticket, and you can see the information. We think that is interesting also, and for us, so we review Redmine, and we can integrate Redmine, and we can incorporate Redmine into Bridge. The benefit is that sometimes we can create workflows and send emails or send reports, etc., but we don't have the guarantee that the user is doing the task. And with Redmine, if we add Redmine into the project that is open source, the hotel could have a control about if the tasks are done, if not, when was the last time that this ticket was open, etc. And then the general manager or the operation manager in the hotel could have more control about all the issues that we have in the hotel, no? And this is the reason why perhaps Redmine could be interesting to add into the
Hey, David, just a quick comment on that. We have an integration with QuickText, which sends internal tasks to the hotels, and they have a dashboard where all of this is done. In case, since that integration exists, if you guys want to try that first and see if hotels will actually use the dashboard and the task, etc., before we go and develop something new, that's there if you guys want to explore it.
Yeah, we have the API. We could try to analyze and include the mapper, and then we could add it. It's not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, I'll introduce you guys to Benjamin, and he could give I don't know, access to some of it's basically this, but it's already done. Just so we could measure adoption before going too much further with Redmine, if you guys want to.
Okay. Only one comment. Redmine is free, so it's not. We have not a cost in Redmine. Redmine is an open source solution and it's completely free. I comment
Understood.
that.
Understood.
Okay.
Just the cost from the development time, our focus time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. The final answer that what we think that how Bridge will change, because we really think that technology like Bridge will change the hotel management, is the following. we think that we have two different sides in the hotels. We have one side that is the operation, is when the guest is in the hotel, and the other one is the sales, where you are before that the guests go to the hotel, no, in the selling process, etc. If we go deeper into the both sides, we can see that usually perhaps is not accurate, okay, but I think that those are the main departments or the main areas that the hotel has depending on the thing. No, in operation we have front office, housekeeping, food beverage, guest service, engineering, financial. In the sales we have distribution, revenue management, sales, direct custom or direct channel, groups, marketing, loyalty, etc. What we are seeing is that now probably Bridge could help to start to communicate, no, and what we think is now the communication between those areas are not, perhaps there are hotels that has a solution, for example, they have Alice or has the solution as Estela just commented, but perhaps there are other hotels that they have not anything, no? And then with Bridge, what we are doing is interconnect all. So what we can do is create, the hotel could create different workflows where you can join one department with other department, or automatically you can create one action in one area, in other area, etc. This is why we think that probably Bridge could change the new or the way that the hotels could manage actually. No, we think that the dynamic management or the workflows could help to the hotels to interact between the different departments, horizontal and vertical. No? That is the key, and increase the communication. Okay, well, now the idea is to see a live demo, but before the live demo, I don't know if we have any question, any doubt, or is all clear or not?
I think this is great, David, and thank you for doing this. I think the most important part of this, as you and I have talked about, is that this really kind of captures where I think our future is and where I think the future of that hospitality technology segment of the industry is going. And so I think that, you know, there's just a ton of possibilities here, and it was important for this group in particular to really get a sort of a clearer view of kind of exactly what the pieces are, and what then that puzzle, once put together, allows us to do. And the beauty of it in my mind is that it allows us to do things that we haven't even thought about, and that they're going to come up as we go. But that's the beauty of a platform. The other thing is, David Oren-Sanz and I have to jump probably in about 3 minutes, so you guys can keep going. If I'm assuming we're running out of time, we're going to run out of time during the live demo. Both David O and I will jump to a meeting with Elite that we can't be late for, but if others can stay a little longer, then that's fine, or if not, we can complete the live demo later.
As you want, Jim can do the live demo now, no, Jim?
Sure.
Okay, I will stop to share.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a list of the mappers that we have completed. So when David was going through those sample workflows that we could do, and you saw all the ifs and thens, these are the conditions and actions. The ifs are built off the conditions, and then the actions are taken as actions. So you can see here the different types, conditions, and actions that we've built. And as Angela pointed out, we have 60 so far. And you have to kind of think of these as the building blocks of the workflows and what we can do. And when you think of it that way, almost like Legos, it really becomes interesting what the types of things you can do. So I wanted to run a few workflows. The first one, let's see, so one is I'm going to get go to booking.com and pull all of the reviews, and then I'm going to post the good ones, the comments from the good ones, to a WordPress site. So some principles I wanted to illustrate with this. One is that this is totally third-party actions conditions and actions here. I mean, we're pulling reviews from booking.com. We're then analyzing in our system to find the ones where the cleanliness score is greater than 10. And then we're going to take the positive content from those reviews and post them to a WordPress website. So here's the WordPress website I have. I just have one post on this news page. So when I run this, and this this is all development stuff back in that we've built so that we can see how it's working. So you can see it running here. It's finished. So now when I go here, I should have some new. So here I have two new reviews from booking.com. We had a great time. Everyone was very helpful and friendly. So I'm not sure a hotel would want to automatically do this. I kind of ran this in the autopilot mode where it goes and gets them and posts them no matter what. You could do this with an action panel. Also set this up to run not automatically, but where you get notified when you get a review that's over 10, and then you could look at the comments and decide whether you wanted to post them here as well. So one of the principles this illustrates is that one of the actions that we can take is controlling content. And wherever we can have an API to control content, we may be able to build some things into IDE and so forth. Very easy to do with Bridge. Let's see. The next one I wanted to do, let's see. I was going to build this one on the fly, but I have one already built, so we'll just use this one. So here, I think David or Angela mentioned this one as well. Text me when the Houston temperature is nice. So here I'm connecting to another third-party weather API, and we're getting the current weather in Houston, and I've set up conditions where if the temperature is greater than 40 degrees and less than or equal to 95, then now I'm connecting through Twilio to send an SMS. I don't know if somebody wants to volunteer their phone number to see this work, or I can just use mine. So let's see, when I test this, hopefully it's within that temperature range right now in Houston.
Yeah, it's the rare time that
it's between.
We have nice weather.
Yeah. Maybe I didn't hit run good.
It's a cross finger point.
There we go. Okay, so now it's running. So this is my iMessage panel. So I got the text. It's on my phone here too. So that's the notification piece that we were talking about. But again, third party, going and getting data from third parties. Weather's kind of simple, but anything you can think of where we can go get data and test it, check for different things, Bridge can do it. And really, it is pretty simple to set up these mappings. Probably the thing that's most time consuming, for example, with the booking.com, was actually getting the account and the access set up. But once we have that, we can connect to anything they give us access to. So since we're short on time, I'll just leave it at that. And if we want to do a more detailed demo later, we can do that. So. Any questions or?
No, seems that is great.
Oh, then I do not need to do anything, but I have the easiest job. I only have one word. The system will be ready to run by the end of this month. And and we will have plenty of time to keep it running and produce sample results, good sample results for us to review, and to showcase for the late May events. So anyway, that's my comments. That's it.
David Drew asked, when can we sell it?
Diane, when we can sell it?
Beginning May, but perhaps training, all those things, I will say. And also we have an event on the May 20th. So worst case, end of May.
Yeah. Now what we are ending is the library, workflow library. That is something that is new that we added, because as we can see in different screens that, for example, now Jim showed us, perhaps for some users those screens are difficult, no? And then with the workflow library that, for example, Angelo showed us before, is easier for the user. Now we are ending this part. Also now we are working with Stella and the team and Stella's team about to start to definition of the workflows to add in the workflow library, and the idea is at the end of May will be ready the first version of Bridge. Okay, I don't know if we have more questions or not. Jason, I don't know if you perhaps need something, or can we help you with something to?
Yeah, I will circle back with, kind of a plan to roll it out to the public that is going to make sense for everybody, for product, for sales, for the development, the final development piece and everything. So I'll circle back with you. And it sounds like, this May 20th event would be a good time, a good event a good trigger to go public. And then, then once we go public, then, maybe there's some training dates that follow leading up to, so that we're all prepared. And I don't know if you guys have thought about any client that might want to try it, and if we could get a quote from that client after their trial or something like that. Have y'all thought about that?
No, yet. This part we are working with Stella and Sarah to start to work on this part, but we have not more information now. We are starting working. So Sarah, for example, created different meetings, but as we need to develop some functionalities, we are delaying those meetings. But now that we have all ready, we will start on this part, and perhaps we could give you an update as we are moving forward in this part.
Okay, that's fine. It sounds like we're all comfortable with going public at the end of May, and so I'll just put together kind of a short, concise plan on doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. About pricing models, it's something that also we need to define, because we didn't define the different pricing models. Something that also probably we need to sit in other meeting or other session and to define the pricing model. Okay, then the idea today is try to explain better Bridge and the benefit, why Bridge is important. But as we comment at the beginning, if you have any question, any doubt or something like this, please let us know, and SHR Labs are ready to answer.
Cool, thank you. Good stuff.
Okay, I don't know if Angelo, Jim, Diane, do you want to comment anything more?
No, it's good.
No,
I mean, Jason, May 20th is that's Hospella.net online pitch event. Is that right?
Correct. It's a short window. I'd have to go back and look and confirm, but it's probably like 6 or 7 minute pitch.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a.
Do you have other?
Oh, go ahead, Angela. Sorry.
I mean, Jason, if we can't put something together by then, do you have backup pitches that you could put in for SHR, or should we try to just commit to having something ready for you by a certain date?
I think you should commit. No backup plan. We're going to burn the ships. Yeah. Worst case scenario. I mean, we can always pitch. I think David Mineo and I kicked around pitching Wave. So
Okay.
because it's a revenue management focused online event,
Oh,
so to
I see.
speak. Yeah. So, but this sounds like it would be, tying it in to the revenue management world, like you guys have shown. This would be pretty interesting. And again, like a lot of things, it doesn't have to be fully functional to go public. Whet the appetite of people and continue to progress the product.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to. Yeah, I agree. I think we should just go for it and show whatever we have at that time in the best way as we can.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Jim, were you trying to say something?
Oh, I was just Drew dropped off, but I was going to mention probably more for Drew than for Jason.